AITA for not involving my son in my wedding. When I 38M was 17, I got a girl pregnant. We did use a condom, but as it happened something went wrong and she fell pregnant. She decided to keep the baby, and as much as I didn't want a kid, I stepped up as it was the right thing to do. We never married but dated until he was 12. I was present in his life until he was 15 when he announced that he no longer wanted to see me due to the way I ended things with his mother. The way me and my ex broke up was by the time our son was 10 we were basically broken up. We didn't have sex, didn't go on dates. Didn't do anything couples do, we slept next to each other, but that was it. I started a new job where I met my fiancée. There was never any physical cheating, but she was on my team and we became really good friends and I eventually fell for her. I realized through her that me and my ex weren't really compatible and didn't have an awful lot in common. I told my ex that I was moving out and she didn't seem too bothered and just said okay. I continued regular days out with my son, going out one-on-one 3 to 4 times a week. My ex and I were also on really good terms and stayed amicable to the point I would consider us friends. My son said that his mother had been very upset about how I ended our relationship and was only putting on a facade. I tried talking to my ex, but she didn't deny anything. I don't understand, as she didn't initiate any form of intimacy or even going on dates since he was 10. I stopped trying after she continually made up excuses why we couldn't go on a date or have intimacy. My son stopped responding to my calls and texts, and when I spoke to my ex she said she would never stop us speaking, but it was our son's choice as he was at an age he could decide if he wanted to speak to us. I called and texted every day until he was 16 and hadn't uttered a single word to me in over 8 months. I tried reaching out 2 times a week but still no responses to anything. Until I gave up when he turned 17. I always sent presents and cards for birthdays despite him not talking to me, as he is still my son. I also paid money to my ex. We never had a court order. I did it as even though my son didn't want my physical support, I would at least give him financial. I also created a fund which I gave to my ex when he turned 18, said it could be used for a house or college or whatever our son wanted. It was a small savings, about 30-ish grand, so not enormous but enough. I also started a relationship with my fiancée from work and we got engaged recently. She was my biggest support during my son's ghosting of me, and I'm so lucky I had her to fall back on during the hardest times. We also have a 3-year-old daughter together who my son also has not met. I recently got a message from my son asking if we could meet up. I said yes without hesitation, as I still wondered about my son daily and loved him, and we met up for coffee recently. He apologized for his actions and said he is aware he went about everything immaturely and was wondering if we could rebuild a relationship. We have since been meeting up a few times a week. He has met my fiancé and his sister, and I can already tell they have grown a close bond together. The last time he was at my house he noticed my fiancé ring and asked if we were already married. When we told him we had an upcoming wedding, he asked if he would be invited, to which we said of course. He then continued on about the wedding, if I'd picked groomsmen, to which I confirmed I had, my 2 best friends. He asked if he could be one of the groomsmen instead, and I had to gently tell him that while I was delighted to have him in attendance and that he was welcome to sit at the reception table with the rest of my immediate family, he would not have a big role in the wedding. He asked why, saying surely no one deserved to be best man more than the groom's son. I said that I had already promised the role to my best friend and that it wasn't possible. He continued to argue with me and snapped slightly. I said it wasn't his place to make demands about my wedding, which doesn't even have a date yet, after disappearing and ignoring me for nearly 7 years. He buried his head and said that I don't understand how bad he feels about that. He said that he wanted to reach out when he turned 18 and saw the fund I saved for him, but was worried I'd hate him. I told him the constant gifts and calls should have been enough to say I didn't hate him, and that no matter what he does I couldn't hate him, but that it is a fact that we don't have as much of a built-up relationship to the point I can make him best man. He said he understood but has seemed down ever since and has been coming over less, which both me and my daughter miss him. Should I just swallow my pride and make him best man, or should I stick to my guns? My fiancé says it might strengthen the relationship between my son and I, but that it's up to me, so AITA any further advice also appreciated.